I don't know if that makes a difference, but oh, hi, we're live on YouTube.
Oh yeah, let me take this off right now. Okay. So hi everyone, thank you all so much for joining. This is Novio, and this is the late night adults only edition. So everything is unfiltered as we are live. Before we go on to this week's episode and introducing our lovely guests, last week we had Rebecca with us. We were talking about love, peace, and cannabis. So if you want to introduce cannabis into your love and self-care routines, take a look at that episode. I think we shared some really great knowledge if you're into things like that, because I know not everybody's 420 friendly, but maybe have an open mind during quarantine, because a lot of us are trying new things. But on this episode, we're going to be talking about Cuddle season, which, if you all have not noticed, we are in Scorpio season. So not only is it a new season, but we're also getting, like, the weather's changing. People are getting sick, not corona, but just getting sick because of the season. So yeah, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest for this episode. Her name is Janine. She is a social media whiz, like, I'm not even joking. And yeah, she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and we're going to be diving into some relationship pros and cons of long distance, and then also some of the current things that she's going through with her relationship. So yeah, thank you, Janine, for being on the show.
Yes, I'm very excited. Hey.
Hey. So tell us a little bit about yourself. It could be whether it's like social media or how you got into, the social media space, and then we'll go on to the show.
Yeah, so I am Janine. People call me Queen, QWN. I kind of coined that term. I think I just so the origin story behind that is Kylie Jenner had King Kylie. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do King Janine. That's kind of weird. So I'll do Queen Janine. And then it just stuck. And then people call me by my Instagram name. So hi.
Oh, I was wondering where that came from. I was like, Queen Janine. I'm like, dang, boss bitch.
I sound like arrogant, but I'm like, I mean, people literally call me it. So if it is what it is, and I am what I am.
Right. Isn't that crazy that sometimes even if you go out, people call you by your IG name? Like, They know your IG name before your real name.
I know. They're like, oh, Queen. Or sometimes they say Quen because they don't know how to pronounce it. I'm like, I'll respond to either, honestly. Anything with a J too.
Yes.
Whatever. But
so I know you're based in San Diego, but where's your hometown?
My hometown is in a small town in Ventura County called Oxnard, California. We are known for strawberries and not much else.
And then what made you come down to San Diego?
College. I wanted, when you grow up in a small town, you're like, oh my God, I want to be anywhere but here. And at the same time, I couldn't really afford out of state. So I was like, where's the farthest I can go in California? And I decided I didn't like being cold. So I didn't want to go to NorCal. So I went to SoCal and I came to San Diego, had a blast at SDSU, majored in JMS, which is kind of how I realized that what I liked could be my job, because I entered as graphic design because at the time, magazines are dying, but at the time I wanted to work for 17 because that was like my favorite magazine. I don't know why, but it just pop culture. Like I just love pop culture. So for me, that was like my People magazine. I was like, oh my God, like who's on the cover? Like I love it. I wanted to like design the magazine layout. But then wasn't very good at art. They force you to take art classes, drawing and stuff. Wasn't very good at it. And I was like, I don't really like this. And so I was listening to my roommate at the time. Her name was Kelly. And I was listening to her talk about her major that she was interested in, which was journalism media studies. And then I read the description and I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like something I could do. And I just kind of like fell into that world. And I learned a lot about television and film, which was my minor, a lot about women's study and gender equality and, ethnicities and representation in media. Like I love that stuff. Eat it up.
Yes, especially as ethnic women, we need to be out there. And then also as creatives too. I think that's very, very cool that you found that in school and then you kind of just found your passion. And speaking about passion, I know we're going to be talking about some very important topics. Well, I've never been in a relationship, so I think we talked about this off camera, but we're going to be talking about how to maintain or be in a healthy long distance relationship, because there's a lot of people that are doing the long distance thing right now, even during quarantine, we're not really able to travel as much as we used to. So let us know a little bit about the long distance relationship and how did that happen?
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned it. You kind of hit the nail on the head with long distance relationships. I feel like in quarantine, that was kind of relevant because in the beginning of quarantine back in March, like it was like stay at home order. Like you weren't supposed to be seeing your boo, you weren't supposed to be like,
right.
you weren't supposed to be dating. But I had been in a long distance relationship since the beginning of my relationship, which was in 2018. But my boyfriend, I love him. Shout out to my babe, he's watching.
Hey.
Yeah, so we actually went to high school together, which was kind of funny and ironic because I would always say, oh my God, I'm never going to date anybody from the 805. Like, I want to meet someone somewhere else. And like,
were you guys in the same friend group?
Yeah, we were in like this, he was 2 years younger than me. So I was like, ew, freshman when I was a junior.
Oh, okay.
Swim team, the swim team together. And then we both played water polo. So we just always like, there was always chemistry there. Like I always could tell he liked me. Like it was like obvious. And I kind of had a crush on him, but I didn't want to admit it because it was like people would tease me and call me a cougar or something, Like it's 2 years.
Yeah,
It's a number, ladies. But yeah, so we just always stayed connected. Like I just knew that if I texted him, hey, you want to come ice skating with me and my friends, he would come. If I texted him like, what's up? Like we just always had like that friendly banter. And then it was kind of fun because a friend was like, oh, if you could, you play that name. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Oh yeah.
So someone asked me like, who would I marry? And I was like, I'd marry Eric. And then they're like, why? And then I was like, because he makes me laugh. Like that was like the reason. Like we just had like, our foundation was so strong as friends.
Right.
Yeah, so nothing ever really happened because he went to school in Arizona, I went to school in San Diego, but we always like texted each other, not like anything. But basically, after college, I had an internship in Florida, and then he started like, it was when Snapchat was on the rise, so he started to, flame my selfies, and at first I thought it was like a typo. I was like,
isn't that how it always starts when people start like putting heart eyes and little flames? Yeah. You're like,
I was like, I don't know, it's kind of random. Like, I don't think he did that. And it took him doing it like 4 or 5 times to my selfies. I was like, oh, maybe he thinks I'm cute. Like, oh, I was like, ew, that's cute. Like Babbitt from high school. Like, what? But at the same time, I was like kind of giddy and like excited.
Right.
He was just persistent. And for me, like, and I'll get into this later, like I hadn't dated anybody. I didn't have a boyfriend in high school or college. Like I was just really focused on like doing what I needed to do. And for me, that was school, that was my sorority, that was work, like whatever project I had. I didn't want to like invest time in a person when I should be investing that time in myself.
I relate to you there. Same.
Yeah, right. And I feel like I kind of encourage that because I think you really need to know yourself first before you get into a relationship. And I'll also touch on that when we get to that conversation about how you're ready for a relationship.
Right.
But yeah, he just was persistent. And then one day he was in town for winter break. And then I actually hit him up and I was like, hey, want to hang out?
Oh, so you made the initiative to want to hang out with him?
I think so. I feel like I'm on the spot right now, so I can't like super remember, but I'm pretty sure. I think he had mentioned the idea of hanging out, but then I was in town, so I was like, hey, you want to hang out? And then we went on our first date at a local like brewing company, like the only fun thing to do back home.
Okay. Like, I mean, beer is always good. Like some drinks for the first date.
And I learned later he didn't even like to drink that much, but he bought beers for me to look cool. He got an IPA, like the strongest beer. Like,
wow, yeah, I was gonna say if you don't like beer.
I love IPAs, and maybe he knew that. I don't know, but yeah. And at first in the date, I was like, oh, this is cool, but I'm like, I couldn't. It was just so familiar. I was like, is this like, does he like me or like are we just friends? And I was feeling friends vibes, and I'm like, I'm fine with that. And then at the end of the date, he kissed me, and I was like,
that's not a friend vibe.
It was like literally the very last second. Like he was about to like go to his car, and then he kissed me. Or maybe I ordered an Uber. I don't remember. Basically, I think I did order an Uber. Yeah. So I literally was getting into my car, and then he kissed me. So like he waited till the last second, and I was like, oh my God. Honestly, same. I'm a perfect. But yeah, and then a couple of dates later, I kind of just wanted to like call the bullshit. I was like, if you're trying to like go home to your little frat boys and like brag about how you had a winter fling, like I am not that girl. Like, if
you
you
were
want,
calling him out.
yeah, I was just like, I was
Yeah.
just up front because like I had been in a situation where I really like nurtured a relationship, not a relationship, but like a friendship for a long time because I like loved the person. And I was just like, I'm
Mhm.
not for that. Like just cut to the chase. Like, what do you want? And then
Right.
I set my intentions, then I heard him out, and then he was like, oh no, like I'm totally willing to explore this. Like, let's see where this goes. And that was winter break. Yeah, so around December, January, maybe. And then I told him, I just like set boundaries. Like I was just kind of like, look, like I've never really been in a relationship. Like this is new to me. I kind of want to go at my own pace. So like basically saying like, don't try to like sleep with me the next day. Like I'm not that person. Like I want to get to know you. Even though
Wow, you're really brave. Sometimes I'm afraid to tell people that, like people that I'm really interested, like, oh, I've never been in a relationship. Because then they tell me this is my third, fourth, and I'm like, dang, like it's a little scary. But that's good. So I guess there was no backlash from him when he heard all that.
no,
Okay,
he was
good.
like respectful of my boundaries, and that's one of the things that like made me fall in love with him. Like
Mhm.
we fast forward, he officially asked me to be his girlfriend 4 months later. And then literally that weekend, I wanted to tell him that I loved him. But I was like, I feel like that's too soon. So I didn't.
Wow.
I waited a month, which is kind of soon. But I'm like, when you factor in that I've known him for 10 years, when you factor in, how courteous and like, chivalrous, like you always hear that chivalry's dead, but like he was just super respectful. And I was like, this is like what I've been looking for in person. Like I was
Right.
trying to find something wrong because that's how I am. I always try to find, it's like I self-sabotage. That was my issue before. Like I would always find something wrong with somebody. And I was
I
like,
do the same thing.
yeah, it's so easy to do that, because you don't
Yeah.
want to like be vulnerable. Like I was known for being independent, and like part of me was scared of losing that independence. And then that's how I knew that he was more of a partner. Like I could
Mhm.
still like be myself and like have my own time and do me, and that wouldn't be jeopardized by being with him.
So how did you keep the long distance relationship? Because you're saying you guys weren't in the same state.
No.
So how did you keep it just interesting, or was it just like the communication? Because I mean, not everyone has money to go on flights all the time.
No, TBH, I did rack up some credit card debt just for
Oh, you
like
did? You used your
I used
credit?
to like see him like every in our first the honeymoon phase. Like I never believed in that because I still feel like I'm head over heels. But I do see my actions of like flying like every month to Nashville or to see him was like a little bit overboard. But I just
Wow.
um, but yeah, I just wait, what was the question? I forgot. I was like how much I loved him and I forgot.
How do you keep well, how are both of you all like concentrated on the relationship, like even though miles apart?
Yeah, well, one is trust. Like I never once was like, who's this bitch in your picture? Like I wasn't like that. Like for me, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, like we have that respect. Like we've talked about our intentions. Like we're just gonna try to make this work. And we were very creative in our communication. We wrote a lot of postcards to each other, so that was kind of fun. Like every week we would
Oh,
get
wow.
look in the mail. And like every time the mail lady came, I was like looking, trying to see if it was a postcard. And then we also did weekly playlists on Spotify. Sponsor me, Spotify.
This is
And
like a modern love story. Postcards, playlists.
yeah, it was cute, honestly. It was just like natural for us, so I didn't really think anything of it. But when I would tell people, they'd be like, oh my god, that's so cute. But yeah, we called it Tunes Days because he was like, oh, I think I asked him to make a playlist of all the songs he likes so I can, because I was like, oh, I heard you can get to know somebody through the music they listen to. And
Yeah.
he was a little apprehensive, and he told me later on that it was because he was nervous that I wouldn't like his music, or it'd
That's
be
kind
too
of
weird or something.
personal, right? Like, oh, what if she thinks I'm weird?
Yeah, I kind of was sad. I was like, oh, okay, like I just wanted to like, I was just trying to like, not even keep the flame alive. It was just kind of like because it wasn't fading. I just wanted something like exciting, and
Right.
then he surprised me with like a 50-song playlist, and he's like, hey, I thought about what you said. I made you a playlist. This is like me. And so then I made him
Wow.
one like me. And then he's like, oh, I like this. And it was a Tuesday. And he was
Mhm.
like, do this every week. And I was like, yeah, we can call it Tunes Day. I'm really punny. I have a lot of dad jokes. So I was like, oh, like Tuesday. Uh-huh. And it just stuck. We did it we haven't done it since we've been like in the same area just because we see each other. Um,
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like when we were with each other, like, you know how everyone was so like obsessed with their snap streak on Snapchat?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Like I would just like when I was with him, like I just like it's like I didn't have a phone. Like I didn't respond to anybody. I didn't call anyone back. Like I didn't.
Wow.
I was just like, with him and like in the moment because our time together was so short always. And that's why
Right.
it was kind of a change when we were together again. It was kind of like dating him all over again.
So what would be like, I guess maybe top 3 tips for someone going through a long distance relationship and they might be thinking like, I don't know, is this worth it? Like, how do you know it's worth it? Like, you
Yeah.
felt that inside, or like both of you really talked about it? Like, okay, I see somewhere going with this.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's all about intention. So one would be intentional. Like I've had friends that like they straight up had their person that they're with were like, hey, I'm not down for long distance. Like this is over. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, how could you just like not even try? Like for me, it's like that's just I don't know. If you like somebody and you invest your energy into them, like why can't you try it and just see like what you can do? And
Right.
another tip would be so one, be intentional, like set boundaries, like like set expectations, and then two, be open-minded. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, like he was a little bit apprehensive about the playlist, but then he was open-minded and it ended up being like a beautiful tradition that will like treasure forever. The
Right.
three, hmm, I feel like those top two are kind of like all it for me. But if I had to pick a third one, it would just be to stay in communication. Like communication is key. Like I know it's cheesy, but it really is. Like obviously, if he was like playing games and like didn't text me back for 2 days, like I would lose interest immediately. Like I don't play games.
Right.
I'm not here for that. I told you, you know.
Right. No, I think that's straight up. Like, she's very blunt. So I love that. Like, you're very like, you know what you want, right?
Mhm.
I guess this one might be a little personal, so you can answer it as best as you can. Obviously you're gonna miss being like with the person, physical touch. I'm a very touchy-feely person. So how do you keep that spark alive? Because I see that there's some creativity going. So did you all use a lot of like technology
Yeah,
to keep that
I
going?
knew this question was coming. It was X on the Instagram stories card.
Right.
Honestly, I feel like even though I'm like telling you my whole life story, like I am pretty private, but I was like, like I'm gonna talk about this. Like this is the platform. This is like Novio. Like it's supposed to be like be open.
Yes.
I need to be open. But yeah, we did use technology. I never like texted him nudes because I'm still like, have my little trust issues. I'm like, I don't trust you. Like, what if like something happens and I don't want you to have my pictures?
Right.
What if I become famous and someone like like that's not cool. So
Yeah.
everything was over Snapchat because like I would know if you took a screenshot or something.
Oh,
And
true.
I remember one time he asked me like, "Oh, can I keep this one?" I just sent him one. I was like, "Here, it's tasteful. My face isn't in it. Like it's fine."
Yes.
Yeah, we would also FaceTime a lot. Like I feel like we would FaceTime like once a week, and then we would just be talking, and then like it would just like lead like because there like you said there's a lot of tension, and then all of a sudden
Right.
my shirt's off, like his shirt's off, and I'm like, hey. Like,
It's on and popping.
Alexa, play sexy music. I'm just kidding. Like whatever. And
Right,
like
all the music that you all like got over the years.
yeah, we weren't even intimate together for like the first 4 months, like when we were dating, like nothing happened until he visited me on spring break, and then we had an Airbnb. And at first it was like I feel like mean for saying weird, but it was weird. I was just like he like it was not even weird. It was just like I think I was kind of like not embarrassed. I'm getting like flustered
Mhm.
talking about it. It's like if like someone really well sees you naked and you're like, oh, like that's weird. Like it's just
Right.
weird. And I literally said that. Like he was going down on me and I was just like, oh my god, this is so weird. Like it was just funny. Like and then obviously I enjoyed it, but it was just kind of like I had to get over it. I had to get over myself. I had to get over like being embarrassed. I was like, you don't have cuties. Like I need to grow up. And I'm older than you. Like I need to like yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
years older than him. So I was like, I just need to get over it. And once I was open-minded, like that's how our relationship like flourished.
Yeah, and any females watching this, we got the WAP, okay? We're empowered.
Wow.
We're empowered.
I love that.
Okay,
It's iconic.
me too. I loved hearing like how this long distance relationship eventually turned into the relationship that you have right now. So how do you know you're ready for a relationship? Because I feel like I've been in so many entanglements that
Mhm.
sometimes I'm just like, how do I know? Like, is it just lust or do I actually do like this person? I feel like I'm confused. And many other people during cuddle season are confused right now.
Yeah, I totally feel it. I feel like when you know you can be with the person for like a week and not get annoyed, like not need your own space, like you're comfortable with them, like you don't want to leave their side, like that's how I knew that this was something it was something a little bit more, and it was something that I wanted to explore because I found myself saying I miss you a lot, and I wanted to say I love you. I wanted to say like other things, but I was still like I was very reserved. Like he was so patient with me.
Mhm.
But I would say, yeah, I would say that like just like knowing basically if you don't have any questions about their intentions or how they feel about you, that's when you know you guys are ready for like the relationship. Because
Mm.
if you're still like, oh, does he like me? Or like I can't tell if he like is all about me, like you shouldn't question that. And like for me,
Right.
like, with him now, like I never question if he loves me. He knows I love him. Like there should be no doubt. And I think that when you reach that level of comfort with the person and you can just like really share your energy together and like feel like literally like just looking at each other and like laughing and giggling and all in love and shit, like that's like when you know. And that can be confusing for some people because there are people out there that mainly Scorpios, I'm just kidding.
Scorpio season.
Mercury retrograde, everything. Yeah, like so there are some people that are very charismatic, and it's kind of like how do you read through that? And I think
Right.
taking your time. Like I feel like sometimes people rush into things because we live in an instant gratification kind of world. Like swipe left, DM, instant, come over, WYD. Like it's just so different. Like when I was growing up, I was born in the 90s and obviously 94.
93.
Yeah, you grow up watching movies and you're watching like the 80s movies, right? And you're thinking your crush is gonna call you, they're gonna like, hey, can I speak to Janine? And your mom's gonna be like, Janine, someone's on the phone for you. And you're gonna like have your little like clear phone and like
I
talk
know, like I can hear
your little
it.
flip phone. Like, yeah, like it's just that kind of surprised me. I think that's why dating was hard for me because I wanted the idea of being courted. Like I didn't just want someone to be like, hey, let me tap that. Like, come over here.
Mhm.
Like, no, like, yeah, not my move.
No, I think you brought a lot of like really good points. I also want to be courted. And I
Yeah.
feel like it feels nice, like to have steps because I feel like you said, we're so used to like everything happening so fast, even in our dating life. Well, right now I'm in an entanglement. It's
Mhm,
mostly a friends with benefits situation with a Taurus man.
mhm.
I don't know why,
I
but
know I did that to myself. I'm just kidding.
it's very slow, and I think that's something that I'm not used to.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not slow in terms of sex, but it's just very slow with him like opening up to me. So I
Yeah.
think that's how I know I'm not ready or he's not ready to be in a relationship because you pointed out a lot about that. Like you're both open, you're both vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes relationships flourish, in my opinion, because I've never been in one. But from the
Yeah.
outside looking in, I always see it's like, yeah, these people are like really vulnerable. Like if you're vulnerable, then it must be something special.
Yeah. Like the moment that like my boyfriend and I like I don't want to say like merge souls, but it felt like that. The moment that we like really like let our guards down, and I was like, hey, like I want to talk to you. Like we were. It was like the first trip when he visited me, when he was on spring break, and I had been going through a lot of mental health things, like, and then I told him, and I was like, hey, like I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Like this is really new to me. I just ask for your patience during my time of like learning to like, adjust to medication and to like, go through the traumas that I've been through. And like, I might be a little bit scared and I might be a little bit reserved. I might be closed off, but that doesn't mean I don't care. Like, it just means that like I need to take my time. And then
Hmm.
he got emotional because he was like, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Like, I actually have depression as well. And like, that's something I didn't know about him. And just like
Hmm.
knowing that and getting and understanding like literally how our brains work, like it just made everything more special. And I feel like in that moment that's when like the love little blossom like was planted. And then
Right.
2 days later it had already bloomed and I wanted to say I love you. Like it was just crazy.
Wow. No, and thank you for also sharing that with me. I appreciate that as well. And I do want to ask you something too. Now that you are in the relationship, do you see that there's been a lot of growth from when you all started in the beginning to now? Like now, is it more about building a future and more of those things, or is it still kind of like fun and games, like how it started? Not fun and games, but more lighthearted. Does that still happen even when you're starting to think about serious things?
Yeah, I mean, we are in that stage in our relationship. Like, all we want to do is live together and be with each other all the time. Like, we're ready for that stage and step in our relationship to like live together, to be not roommates, but like to like coexist in a space like together. Like, because before I was like, oh, like I don't want to marry you. We have to date for. I didn't say that. I was like, I want to. If we get married, I want to date you for 7 years. Like, I had all these numbers and all these deadlines. Like, that's just how I am. Like, I have like. I always want to control like the situation. So like I'm like, oh, like if we, and also like I had a friend that like dated her boyfriend for 5 years and then they broke up. So I'm like, oh my God, like what happens to me? I was scared. And so I threw all that stuff at him and he just like accepted it. Like he's very, very patient. But there were some things where he grew, like where, because he's used to like bachelor life, like only, and he's also like, he grew up with 3 brothers. So the only woman in his life was his mom. So he's not very sensitive or like, no, he is sensitive, but it's like he doesn't know. Like it's like I have sisters, I'm a girl, like I know like what a woman needs. Like I know like
you're more in tune to it.
Yeah. Sometimes like, he didn't know how to read the room, basically.
Right.
And so like he learned that, and then I learned to like stop being so controlling, and like it's okay to like have a natural flow of things, like to just let it happen, like to let it down. I also learned, I feel like I could be sometimes I can be kind of not a diva, but like I get frustrated, and he was always patient. And I feel like after like being with him and like seeing his patience with me, I'm like, okay, like I don't want to be like that to him. Like I want to like, if I'm upset, I'm gonna think about what I say before I say it. Like I'm not just gonna like word vomit and like
also one of my biggest fears, because I could see it also with you, maybe if you've had that fear. This is just me going off, but like you are very career driven and you are very independent. So my biggest fear is that if I get into a relationship, that I'll be distracted from my goals, distracted from my career. Was that ever a fear for you? Like, oh my God, like I don't want to be super consumed, because you are your own person too, and you have like all these creative things that you're doing. And sometimes I do see like some friends get into relationships and then they don't follow their dreams anymore. And I'm like, oh, you really like to do this, but when you got in the relationship, you're not doing it anymore. Were you scared about that?
No, just because he's so understanding and like, and also like another thing, which was I think why honestly the best situation for me was to be in a long distance relationship first, was because I'm very independent. Like I don't know, like I remember being shocked that people didn't go to movies alone or like go to a concert alone. Like they always had to like have someone there. I'm like, just go. Like if you want to go to the concert, just go. And I'm like, oh yeah, but no one wants to go with me. I'm like, just go. So I like kind of told him, I'm like, my independence is very important to me, and like I'm not gonna let anybody jeopardize that. And like I have plans, like I have things to do. And an example of me reciprocating that is he told me, oh, I'm only going to take this job, or no, he said after Arizona, when I graduate, I'm going to come back home. And so I'm like, oh cool, like we'll be only hours away, not whole But then he's like, oh, I got a job in Nashville. And so I'm like, oh my God, go for it, that's amazing, like way up. And then a year later he's like, oh, they offered me a raise, they asked me to stay another year. And so at first I was like, I was still supportive, but I was like, you know what, like I'm not going to hold you back from your career. Like we had a conversation about it. And there was a time where like it was kind of like feeling pressure of being apart too much. Like I was just kind of like, look, like I really want to be with you. Like it's kind of like I'm sick of the distance. I just missed him so much. And we just talked about it, and we were just both like, if it has to do with school or career, like do it. Like we'll be here. Like, do you watch the show Emily in Paris?
I'm gonna watch it today. Yeah, everyone's been telling me, and it popped up on my things to watch. Well, yeah, I need to watch it
too. So it's totally up our alley. But basically, spoil it. It doesn't spoil it. But basically, like she has a job in Paris, right? And her boyfriend lives in Chicago, and he's kind of apprehensive about it. Like he's not like that at all with me. Like I actually am thinking about going to a grad school in New York. And that's
oh wow.
Yes, but he's not like, oh, if you go, like it's either me or grad school, like all those movies.
Right, you have to choose.
or the job you've been dreaming for since you were dating. Like, no, like I'm not gonna make you choose. And I think
Right.
you just have to be on the same page and have expectations, like of like, because there were times when I was like, hey, you don't call me enough. Like you don't.
Right.
He was like, oh, okay, and he just calls me more. Like he sometimes like people don't know unless you say something. Like a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you're not saying like no one's a mind reader. Like if you're just gonna be like, why didn't you text me? Like how is he supposed to know that like you want to talk more? Like he thinks that a call a day is fine. Like if you want 3 calls a day, you gotta tell him. So
Oh
just
my God. She just solved the mystery.
yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed. We're not mind readers, y'all.
No.
And I know that's hard because sometimes we think that they should know, like, oh, come on, like you should know to text me
I've
a little
made
bit more, right?
yeah. I've honestly said some things like when I was like really upset. We literally don't really fight. Like I think we've gotten in like I call them tiffs because it's not like a fight. Like I'm not like I hate you. You know, I don't say things like that. But I remember it was like after we had been dating for a year, it was last December, emotional time for me. And I think I was just like, I needed him. And I was like, oh, like, I need you, like, please come over. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. But then it was like midnight and he wasn't there. And I got triggered because I had a person in my life that used to tell me like, oh, I'm going to come over after work. And then I'd wait up till 3 a.m. for them and they didn't show up. So I got triggered and I was like, don't ever do that to me again. Like I got pissed. And then he was like, oh, like, and then I thought about it. I'm like, that's not fair to him because he doesn't know why that triggered me. Like he said he would come over, like he was coming over, but for me, it wasn't fast enough. So I think you just have to like, I don't know, understand that people are different. Like I have things that make me upset and you just have to like, you figure those things out with time. It's like trial and error. Like I'm not like, hi, my name is Janine, here's my baggage. Like, you know,
Right.
come out with time. You just have to be like open-minded, you know, like I said, and just like roll with the waves and just be open to like receiving someone's like heart and like receiving someone's love and their energy.
She did point a lot of things about energy. I feel like that's so important. Even if you're going into cuddle season by yourself and you're only cuddling yourself, that's fine because protect your energy, everybody. You don't always have to share it with people, but if you are sharing it, just make sure that it is someone who is reciprocating it to you.
Yeah, you said it, reciprocation. Because a lot of my relationships in my life, whether it's a friendship or romantic, have been very one-sided, and I just decided that I don't deserve that, and like and it's not about like, you know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's not about that. It's just about like knowing that my effort and my love is being reciprocated. Like I don't need for like, and we talk about love languages. We took the test and everything. Like his love language.
Test?
I forget what it's called, but if you type in like love languages, you can like take a test and it tells you, it's kind of long, low key, but it tells you like your top languages. And so for me, mine is number 1 is giving and receiving. I just love to like buy presents for people, like just to show them I love them. Like that's how I show my love. So, but at the same time, like I'm not asking for like a Tiffany necklace every day. Like as long as you put thought into it, that's all I want. That's what a gift means to me. It's like the thought that counts. And for him, it's touch. And at first I was very anti-PDA. Like I was like, my mom's gonna know that we have sex. Like, like they probably already know, like we're grown.
Right. The elephant in the room.
Yeah, it was so weird. I mean, not weird. I was just very like uptight. And I just over time I've learned to be like loose and like go with the flow. And that's why I really think about energy, like because energy is something that you can't touch. It's not something you can see. It's something you can feel. And I think like in order to like have that good energy with somebody and like because you can feel, you know, as women, I mean, especially for me, like I can feel like when something's not right. Like if someone is like talking to me a different way, I'm like, what's up your ass? Like, whoa.
Right.
I can read people very well. But yeah, that also he's a Leo and I'm a Gemini, which is like they're very compatible. So I think that's something to do.
I was gonna ask, what are your signs? Both of your signs? Yeah. Leo and a Gemini.
Leo, and so I feel like Geminis get a lot of hate. I don't think I'm two-faced, but I do understand that there are like different sides of me. Like there's like this side of me that's like reserved and like independent and like all me. And then there's like the me that's here that's like, you know, social and open and like it's like different ends of the spectrum. It's so weird.
So I always see this as like, oh, like usually people in a partnership, you know, they're not the same, but they're not like total opposites. Is that true in your case?
Yeah, we're like the same person, but we're different. Like he loves to talk. He's a social person. He loves attention, not in a bad way. He just like he's like, pay attention to me kind of person. Whereas I'm very like low maintenance. Like
Oh, okay.
I'm like a cat. Like I'll have my moments. I'll come to you if I want affection. Like I don't want the attention all the time. And him, he's like, so it's like we're the same, and like where we have the same interests. Like we like gaming, we love music, we love concerts, we love entertainment, but we're different, total opposites. Like personality wise, yeah, I would say there's more similarities than differences though, but it is crazy. Like he's the only. Sometimes like I think of like all like the stereotypical things like, oh, opposites attract, like whatever. But
Yeah.
I think it just works out. But
Oh, I like that.
I don't think you have to be a total opposite of somebody to be happy. I think it's a generalization. It's kind of like astrology in general. Like it's a generalization that you either feel it or you don't. Like it doesn't really have to rule your life.
Yes, I agree. Because since I've been with this guy, I've been like looking up his horoscope, like trying to do all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I need to chill.
Yeah,
I need to
definitely.
stop.
You're thinking too much. And I think one thing you need, like the one suggestion I have is to just like step back a little bit. Like, like it's hard to like when you're in a relationship with someone, like they're on your mind a lot. But at the same time, like if you think too hard, like you're not being yourself, because then you're like, oh, a Taurus man likes A, B, and C, but I'm D, E, and F. I need to be A, B, C. You
Right.
don't change yourself.
That's true. No, you brought some really good points. I'm gonna put that mindset for the next time I see him.
Yeah.
So before we close, I do want to play like a little game. It's gonna be called the Cuddle Season Trivia Game. Pretty much, I'm just gonna ask you some questions and then you just answer, so people can get to know you a little bit more. Okay, this is the first question. What is your go-to? Sorry. What is your go-to cuddle sesh movie? Scary movie, since we're in almost Halloween time.
Well, okay, so we recently binge watched The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Oh my God, I'm watching that right now with him. I'm on episode 4.
It's good. I personally liked The Haunting of Hill House better.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Different. That one was scary. Like that one freaked me out. Like I mean, I still scared myself. Like for a couple of days, I couldn't like look in the mirror a lot. But we watched that, and then also Hocus Pocus. It's a classic.
Oh, that is a classic. Yes. Okay, what's your go-to cuddle season drink? It doesn't have to be alcoholic, but it can be if you like that.
So I like it's like one of the peace teas, like the Arizona teas.
Mm-hmm.
It's peace tea. It has a little peace sign, and it's called Snowberry. It's like a blue can. It's just so good. Like it's so cold and refreshing, and it's not too sweet because I don't like really sweet things. I can like sip it the whole night. For my boyfriend, I would say honestly just water, because we get tired. Hydrated. I'm always like, can I have your hydro? Because he always like keeps his hydro there. So it's like I think for him it'd be water.
And then the last one, what is your go-to like pose for cuddling? Do you like to be big spoon, little spoon?
So he calls it jetpack because he's taller. So like I am the bigger spoon, but I'm like a jetpack on him because I'm smaller, and like
you're like
I'm like like I don't know, I'm like arched a little bit, so I'm like on his back like a little jetpack. I sometimes like when he cuddles me, like I'm like, I need my space. Like
yeah.
Big, but I like the openness of being the big spoon.
Oh, I like that. Well, we have come to the end of this Cuddle Season episode. I hope that if you did tune in, you got to meet Janine. She shared some really great insights about cuddle season, tips for if you're in a long distance relationship, some good signs to know if you're ready for a relationship. I think I'm not ready to be in a relationship yet, but we will see because the year is not ending yet. But yeah, how can we follow you and your creative pages on social media? Let us know.
Sure. So on Twitter and Instagram, it's at QWN Janine, JA, and then NINE. I have like an illustration page, Queen Creates, and that's QWN Creates. And then right now I just made another one. I love Instagram. Another one called Green Janine, so it's GRN Janine, because that's my favorite color. And someone DM'd me that was like, oh, I love how you always put green and a pop of green in your pictures. And I'm like, oh, I do, huh? Like I didn't realize it. So I'm gonna make a green page.
Okay. So she has 4 different accounts.
My podcast.
Yes, and follow her podcast as well. We definitely need to do something because I love your podcast. I'm like, oh my God, like
Yeah, we're on a little break
had a
right
really good guest.
now. Yeah,
Yes.
we're about to have you on, and I had a really good time chatting with you tonight.
Thank you so much. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're live every Wednesday at 8, but for this special episode, we're live on Tuesday at 7. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a good night. You too. Bye.
Bye.